So 9 years ago, I made a video explaining how Rich Litvin helped me go from 20,000 to 200,000 a year as a coach. And for a while, I've been thinking, man, it's been 9 years since that, and he still helped me so much to get to where I am today. And I'd like to make another video to share about two things, really. I want to give a deeper testimony to who Rich Litvin is and who he has been for me. And I want to share some perspective and insight that relationship has generated for me as to how relationship can contribute to the creation of everything that you desire. So when I made that video, I was walking in the woods near my wife's family's house in the UK. This time I'm walking on my property, which is a 2-acre farm in upcountry Maui that we bought a couple of years ago. Now, one of my favorite things about this place and this home that I've created for my family, I didn't have kids then, I've got 2 boys now, is that when I walk around this land, the fruit trees, our house here, we have a guest house there, a barn with the gym, another cottage down the hill, the abundance of fruit and avocados and citrus and bananas and things that grow here, this playground area for my boys. I mean, it's so many things that we dreamed of are now our life here. But when I walk around it, while there's all this stuff that's beautiful and that I love, the thing that I love most about it is the feeling I get when I think about the fact that every dollar we paid to buy this home, to bring this dream to life, every single dollar we paid was a dollar that I received as a compensation for loving people inside of a conversation. That's the work that I've been doing for 15 years. I have a dialogue, often uncomfortable, always loving. I speak truth, I ask questions, I help people to create. And as a result of that, they pay me. And with that money, I buy this home. And so when I walk around this land, I mean, this came from that. And that's an amazing feeling. I imagine it would feel like for a singer-songwriter that just pours their heart out into a song, and then imagine to be able to make money from your art. That's what it feels like. And so my gratitude for the experience and for this place is that. And when I think about how I got here, Rich has been, not just at the beginning, like those first 2 years, but has continued to be a huge part of how I've been able to achieve this. Some ways he's aware of, and some ways maybe he isn't. So Rich, you're probably hearing some of this for the first time. So I know that a lot of people who are going to watch this video have never met Rich Litvin. They've read a book by him. Maybe it's The Prosperous Coach. Maybe it's his forthcoming book by the time this video comes out and his new book is out. And they read it and they're like, man, this stuff makes sense. This guy seems so awesome. He seems so authentic. He seems powerful in all these different ways, around conversation and as a human being and relating. But it's probably bullshit, or nobody's that honest, or there's probably something underneath the surface, right? And so one of the big reasons I wanted to make this video is because over the 9 years since that last video, after that point, actually, I moved to Santa Monica. So, and part of the reason I moved to Santa Monica is because that's where Rich lived. Just kind of wanted to be closer to this guy. At that point, I think I had said, hey, maybe we could be friends one day. And I remember him saying to me, it was quite funny. Well, now it's funny. I don't need more friends. I'm your coach. You're my client. I was like, shit, man. But in any case, I moved to Santa Monica anyway, in part to be near Rich and the whole personal development world. And I just stayed in conversation, and I stayed... what's the word? I guess when you have a mentor, there's a mentee. I stayed being the best mentee I possibly could, and the best student and the best client I possibly could. And this is one of the things that I wanted to share with you for you to understand the power of a mentor-mentee relationship and what it can create for you in your life. Because I see people all the time. People come to me for the possibility of mentorship, and they drop the ball in a way. I'm like, man, if you just kept that ball, you could have created so much. And so one thing that I've done throughout my life is I've identified who is the best in whatever industry I'm in or whatever thing I want to learn is. And how can I get as close to them as I possibly can? Who do I have to be? What do I have to do? How much do I have to pay? I don't care what it costs. I'll find the money. Because I know that if I can just ride shotgun in their life, and I'll tell you about where that metaphor comes from in a minute, then just through being around them, I will learn to emulate their behavior, emulate their thinking, see through their eyes, understand their worldview, and through that, I will assimilate a capacity that is similar to theirs. I'll make it my own. I'm not worried about being a copycat. I'll make it my own. But through that cultivation of relationship with that person, and through spending as much time around them as I can, I will be able to create at a higher level in this game, in this industry, whatever it is. So the metaphor, actually riding shotgun, I was in conversation recently with someone, and she helped me to see that since I was 14 years old, I've been sitting shotgun in cars with people who are really great at things. My dad gave me jobs when I was a kid, working labor jobs in the summer, working landscaping, working painting. But what I didn't realize until very recently is that those jobs, I was doing hard labor, but I was actually hanging out with the owner of the company. So he put me in the landscaping company, the owner's car with him, and he'd pick me up and he'd take me, I'd do some work, but I drive around with the owner of the company all day. And then the summer that I did painting, I drove around with the owner of the company, and I did painting, but what I didn't realize is my dad was kind of getting me to hang out with these masters, these entrepreneurs, these people who own companies, who ran businesses. And I was soaking up that way of thinking. And my dad used to take me for rides in his car to collect rent from his investment property. So I was understanding business and investing at a young age. But I was also learning what you need to do if you want to learn is to be around people who have expertise in a certain area. So when Rich came to Santa Monica recently to participate in my event, to speak at my event, to coach at my event, he would say, we also sold a dinner. He said, for $5,000, you can come to dinner with Rich and myself, and we'll coach you, we'll support you. And at that dinner, whilst we were both supporting both the people that had invested to be there, it was 4 of us total, a couple of times I was like almost pulling my phone out to take notes when Rich was speaking. And that's when I was like, man, I really need to make this video, because here's the thing. When Rich Litvin speaks, gold just drips. It drips out of him because of the wealth of experience that he has. That's part of it. But not everybody that has experience can teach. And Rich has a lot of attention on how he's doing what he's doing, understanding distinctions, understanding business. And that's the thing too that I've seen the last 12, 15 years with Rich, is that he's not only a phenomenal coach, but now he's a very seasoned entrepreneur with multiple businesses and lots of income. I mean, like getting a bit of a tangent. So that brings me back to, all the income that Rich creates, which is phenomenal in our industry. I've seen and I have privy to because we're very close now. So that's to bring it full circle. The relationship that we've created now, he's one of my best friends. And so I'm making a video that's a testimony to the character of one of my best friends. So isn't everybody going to talk about their best friend that way? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm doing this because I know there's a lot of people that come across this stuff and they're meeting him at a point at which I used to know him, which is from a distance, and it seems interesting, it seems powerful, but it's like, there's a lot of stuff out there that you shouldn't trust. So all I wanted to do is to share with you my heartfelt, honest opinion that Rich is one of the most solid, loving, honest, and good men that I've ever met in my life. He's a great man. Yes, he's one of my best friends, but he's in that position because of his character, because of the quality of person that he is. I was very blessed to receive an invitation from him to join his men's group that had been running for 8 years already. And these are deep, deep guys, all very successful. I was the youngest guy that joined the group. And it's been a challenge for me. They tease me about it. They've got a fun little nickname for me now. But I've had a real imposter syndrome because all of these men are great men. And to go into a context of now peers, that's what we say. Look at me with the air quotes. They are my peers. But to go into that context now in relationship with them all, when many have been my teachers, especially Rich, he's a mentor and has been, but he's also a peer and a friend. He has had its edge. So I'm weaving two things together. I'm weaving together the idea of Rich being a great man, and I'm encouraging you to trust any intuition that you have that this is a great place to invest your money. The guys that came to dinner who paid $5,000 each to be there, they got their money in bucket loads in the Uber before we even got there. Actually the event in Santa Monica itself, I was going into it with a certain idea of what I'd be able to create income-wise, which wasn't that much based on previous experience from other things that I'd done that were similar. But just one thing that Rich said to me, Meant that instead of making 10, 20, 30 grand, I brought in close to $200,000 in 24 hours. I mean, this is the point. Like, why do you pay $5 grand to have dinner? Well, you shouldn't pay $5 grand to have dinner with most people. But certain people who are in the right industry, who have the right capacity, the right ability to see certain things that you can't see, it's worth that all day long for the right person. And for me, even being at dinner, in part being paid to be there because I'm supporting the other guys, I'm still making money off the fact that I'm learning from him still constantly at this day. What is it? Somewhere in 2023. What is it? December 2023. So, the other point that I'm trying to make here, two things at once, is that if you want to grow in your capacity to create everything that you desire, get yourself into relationship, get as close as you can to the people who inspire you. Don't hold yourself at arm's length. Don't even take what they offer on the front end as the only way to do that. You know, Rich said, I don't need more friends, and now he's one of my best friends. But that's not because I was trying to fight for it. I was like, yeah, this is what it is, dude. But like, I'm just going to keep showing up, being the best person I know I can be, taking your advice and running with it. This is the thing about mentor relationships too. People want advice. Oh, give me some advice. That'll save me. And then they don't go and do anything with it. Or if they do something with it, they don't come back and let that person know. One of the things that I've found when riding shotgun with masters like Rich is I've taken his advice. I've gone and done exactly what he said, and I've reported back as quickly as I've completed it. And I've let him know that I've done that. And I say, what's next? Or I ask another question. You know, and I've really pushed the envelope on this. I mean, Rich did email me once saying, while I was a paying client, say, John, you're not allowed to email me anymore with a question. I was a little over the top, but I want to, what's the barrier? What's the threshold, right? When is somebody going to say, stop, that's too much? If you're not willing to find that out, then you're going to leave so much support and possibility on the table. And through that, through standing out in that way, through having a bit of an anomalous way of being in relationship as a mentee, as a student, as a client, you stand out and you create a higher possibility for that relationship and you're able to create more from it. Now, it doesn't mean I've become friends with all of my coaches, all of my mentors. A lot of them I have, but not all of it. It doesn't always work out that way. But what I have done is I've squeezed every tiny ounce, a tiny bit of juice out of the lemon, out of that fruit of that relationship. I leave nothing. When I squeeze the lemon of a mentor-mentee relationship, it's so dry that I can go like this, and the lemon is just dust. It will just blow away. That's how much moisture I squeeze out of it. And I squeeze through a commitment to taking action on the advice and the perspectives that they share with me. And so I wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for Rich and it wasn't for the relationship that I contributed to creating with him. Now, I'm saying this to you because I want you to trust Rich. If you're thinking about working with him, just go. In fact, go harder, go deeper. You know, all the money I've invested in Rich, I've made back many, 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 many times over. And there's going to be people who invest in Rich and don't, but that's not him. That's them. And so you also want to bring a kind of commitment that stands out. Have other people in the class being like, who the hell is that? What is she doing? Damn. Every time he asks if somebody has a question, it's like, me. Guess who's at the front of the room? Guess who's showing up early for every call? Guess who's taking advantage of every opportunity? Guess who's being told, stop asking me questions because they found the threshold? You know? So pull the trigger, invest in working with Rich, and understand that at the end of the day, what you create with any mentor is ultimately going to come down to your commitment. And actually, the video that I made, and that's why I was just pausing for a second, the video that I made 9 years ago, people email me all the time. In fact, to be honest, I've created many, many clients. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in coaching income has come directly as a result of that video that I made acknowledging Rich. Now, it's not a video saying hire me, it's saying this is how great Rich is. But nevertheless, certain people are going to resonate with him, certain people are going to resonate with me. But when you acknowledge somebody, when you tell the truth about another person and the value they've had in your life, that creates both of you. But the message that I had in that video, the reason I think some people ended up reaching out to me is because inadvertently, without meaning to, I was speaking about my commitment, that when I hired Rich, it was a struggle, but I believed in him because he believed in me, right? I didn't necessarily have all the background and the evidence. I hadn't seen his financials like I have now. I hadn't met his family like I have now. I haven't been part of a men's group having the most deep and honest conversations I've ever had with anybody in my life with him like I'd had now. But I had a sense that I could trust, and I trusted that sense because I didn't have the quote unquote evidence yet. And through trusting that sense and I staying committed to the work, because something within me told me it was the right path, it was that commitment and that consistency over time in partnership with him and his wisdom and his expertise and his love and his courage. That combination of those things, the product of that is the success. So I love you for watching this, whoever you are. I love you, Rich, for being who you are, for being my best friend. I can't wait to see you again next. We've got a number of opportunities next year for us in the men's group to be together. I love you all very much.